of what your internal organs are going to look like. So let's go ahead and move the pec major muscle, the pec minor muscle out of the way, and then I'm going to grab the rib cage or chest plate, and as I move it, we can see the internal organs, such as your liver and diaphragm, your heart and lungs and intestines. But this is what you look like on the inside. I want to talk about the spleen. So the spleen is going to be on the side of the liver and your stomach on your left side. So this doesn't really do it justice. It's much bigger than this. So watch as I kind of pull this thing out. It's about the size of your hand. Like you could fit it in your palm. Now, the spleen is going to have multiple functions. It helps break down red blood cells. It helps store blood in case you lose too much. It's essentially a giant lymph node. But yeah, that's your spleen. It's just going to be hanging out on your left side right by your stomach. Today I want to talk about how a different perspective can make such a difference when studying human anatomy. What you're looking at here is a mid-sagittal view of one of our cadavers. And this view allows you to see so many different structures all at once, like intervertebral discs, or the pylorus of the stomach, the liver, the ascending aorta. The relationship that organs and tissues have with one another becomes extremely clear when you look at the body from this perspective. It's just so cool. Today I want to talk about appendicitis. Believe it or not, this tiny little thing right here is your appendix. If it gets to be about the size of your index finger, you run the risk of it rupturing. And if that happens, bacteria will make its way into your abdominal cavity and you could go septic. Okay, so what I have here is half of a real human head, but what I want to focus on is this thing, because this is called the epiglottis, and if you've ever had something go down the wrong tube, this is to blame, because what it's supposed to do is block off your airway so your food or drink can go down the esophagus. But if it fails, then what happens is it goes into your larynx, you cough, and, well, it hurts. So what I want to focus on today is this area of the central nervous system called the cerebellum. Now, the cerebellum's job, besides looking really cool, is to smooth your muscle movement. So let's say I wanted to wiggle my fingers. That decision would begin up in this area called the motor cortex. Now what would happen is these two structures would communicate with one another to make that movement nice and smooth. Without the cerebellum, I could still move my fingers, but it would be far more disjointed and sloppy. Today I want to talk about what happens when your kidney creates a kidney stone. Now, the kidney's job is to filter urea, a waste product, out of your blood, mix it with water to now be urine, and send it out of your body. But occasionally it forms this little mineral deposit. But little is probably not the right word, because if we look at it compared to the ureter, you can see the problem already. It doesn't fit all that well. And it's this size difference that creates all the problems you've heard of, including immense pain. Today I want to talk about your thyroid gland. So the thyroid sits just below your Adam's apple, or thyroid cartilage, and just above your trachea, or your windpipe. So this purple butterfly-looking gland helps regulate your metabolism as well as lower how much calcium is inside of your bloodstream. The heart is probably my favorite organ, and there's so many different reasons as to why that's true. But something I want to show you that never ceases to amaze me is just how cool it looks on the inside. Now, if you look and see this white flap thing up top, that's called the mitral valve, and it separates the left atrium from the left ventricle. And what's attached to it are these things called the chordae tendineae. Those are your literal heartstrings. The heart is just the workhorse of the body. This thing beats, on average, 2.5 to 3 billion times over your lifetime.